I like when not everything's said. And I like when there's some unsaid. I like the fact that I know there's deeper meaning to it than what you see.
Hi, and welcome to Creative Crush, a podcast in which marketing's smartest minds step away from their brand to talk about a piece of culture that they keep coming back to. My name is Hugh Garry, and today I'm talking to Virginie Faucon. Hello, Virginie.
Hello. Hi.
How are you?
Very good. Very good. Thank you.
Before we jump into your creative crush, can you just tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm Virginie Faucon. I am the global head of marketing and brand for AXA Health International. We are part of the AXA group, and I look after the international health part of the business, everything marketing, brand, insights, customer experience related.
Fantastic. And I'm so excited to talk to you about today's creative crush. Can you tell the audience what your creative crush is?
Yes, so my creative crush is an inspiration. It's a play as an inspiration from a timeless, really film or animated film. So the play is My Neighbour Totoro, which is airing at the moment in London. It's a musical play, but it is an extract from the very famous animated film from Miyazaki.
The spirits of the forest started to hide from us. Frightened, but also disappointed. But once in a while, they meet someone like you, May.
Can you tell us, were you a fan of the film originally, or did you go and see the play first and then watch the film? What was the order of things?
Yeah, so I saw the film definitely before a few times, and I definitely was a fan and like all of the work from Miyazaki really, and I've seen it a few times. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but I am also a fan of musicals. I go to the theatre a lot. We're a musical fan family. And plays, and so there was the two combined were definitely caught my attention.
Normally, I ask people that when they discovered this work, but when did you first discover the work of Studio Ghibli and all that canon?
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, Studio Ghibli has said it's been around for a long time. I think the first time I saw certainly My Neighbour Totoro was probably when I myself was a child or a teenager. So it goes back a long time. And it's probably the first one I saw because it's the more children-friendly one, probably of all of them. And I've seen quite a few other pieces since. But I also happen to have lived in Japan for 2 years, and I'm absolute fan of the country. I love Japan. It really took my heart. So I think it almost connected back to this culture when I was there. So when I came back, I also watched it again. And this is also why I picked this piece, because the rendition of it as a musical or a play was really extraordinary and really also leveraged a lot of the aspects of the Japanese culture. And for me, that was fantastic.
So for anyone who isn't aware of the story, can you try and help explain the story or what actually happens in the story?
Yeah, I can. I mean, it is quite strange, of course, like most of Miyazaki's work. So not the most straightforward to describe, because there's a big magical part to it, a bit, probably a lot of metaphor as well. And so not super straightforward because it's left a lot to the viewer's imagination or interpretation. But it is the story, we follow the story of a family, a father and his two young daughters who are moving from the city, from Tokyo to the countryside, and buying an old house somewhere in the countryside. And it's at the heart, it's quite a sad story that the mom is in hospital, quite ill. We're not entirely sure what she has, but she's away, she's ill, she's unwell. So the two young daughters, the main character is very young. Again, I can't remember, but very, very young. And they go to school, primary school. But of course, there's that element of sadness in the background that the mom is ill and they go and visit. But there's also a lot of joy. And this is part of what makes Studio Ghibli always so fascinating. It's always that mix of joy and I said, but also the profoundness of the story. And so there's these two little girls. They settle with their dad, and there's a lot of they basically the house is very old in a village, and it's next to a forest. And we understand very early on the forest is a little bit magical. It has some magical creatures, or certainly the young girl sees magical creatures. Now, does she see them? Does she invent them? We don't know. But that's the whole story where her big sister goes to school. She's left on her own to roam around and invent the forest. And then she happens to meet Totoro. And Totoro is a giant panda bear. We don't really know, magical creature, huge. But he becomes this very, very comforting presence to her. But no one else can see him apart from the children, really, because his sister can also see him, but no one else can. And he really supports her. And there's that element. It's quite sad, quite poignant, and at the same time quite joyous. It's a fantastic piece. So that's pretty much the story, I think, trying to describe it.
There's this thing about it's a story without story, or a story in which nothing happens, which tends to be my favorite types of stories.
Yes. There's not really it's not an action story by any stretch, really. It is very much a story where nothing happens, and at the same time a lot happens, but it's quite slow in pace actually as well. I recently watched it. I actually went to watch the play with my family, my children, and they had watched the movie before. And it's interesting to see their reaction, because it's actually quite a slow pace movie as well. It's very slow pace, because that's the thing. It leaves people hanging and guessing, and it's really moving in that really slow pace, which makes it even more deep. But for children who are used to very high pace these days, movies and animated, everything's quite high pace, action led, and they really struggle with the pace. They found it very slow. So you're absolutely right. It's almost nothing happens, but lots happen, and at the end, there's obviously lovely ending, but and it almost comes together all at the end. So yeah,
it's really interesting because the child takes comfort from this thing, and this is a conversation that I had on the previous podcast about the creative crushes kind of bring you comfort. I kind of described some music tracks as giving me a cuddle sometimes.
Yes.
There's just a comfort about them, and sometimes we go to the things at times that we need to, because we need them to pick us up or to give us that cuddle or to do whatever it is. And it kind of feels like that's what the main character in this film is looking for, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and if we come back to the play, because my crush was the play, although the movie, the film I absolutely love, but the play is the one I mentioned. It has raving reviews, and I think people generally have found it absolutely fantastic. And to that point of comfort, it is staged as a musical. So there is music throughout the play for My Neighbour Totoro as a play. And there's this singer, and it's a Japanese singer. And it is unbelievable. Having lived in Japan, and for me, this is really close to my heart, something that I'm feeling quite homesick sometimes, of having left that country and absolutely love it. Just to hear that singer sing in Japanese, those lovely songs, exactly that, really. I was sat there, and it provided that amazing comfort. So it was a real crush. I mean, just even through the music, I thought it was really, really lovely.
When you knew there's a play coming, did you have that fear about, well, how are they going to do this on stage?
Yeah.
Because when you hold something so closely,
yes,
it's quite a leap. It's quite a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been around for a long time in London. I know that it was staged a few times, always sold out. So it's not the first year. I think almost was lucky to get tickets now. And so I knew that people said it was fantastic. But I did have that fear. I was really a bit skeptical or not so sure how it would be staged because it is an animated movie from, very established Japanese studios, very distinct style as well, of course, as we know, manga style. And I was thinking, how would you transcribe that on the stage? And I wasn't sure. I was thinking people love it, but because I have lived that culture, maybe I'll be disappointed. And this is why it's my crush, because I was so surprised at how unbelievable it was and was not expecting it at all. And it was absolutely perfectly staged. And there's a lot to get right. It's because it's unreal, it's magical. How do you turn that which into something tangible in reality on stage? You could have a lot of cheap looking props. You could have things that don't really look, and they managed to transcribe it in a way where it really looks like it's magic to the audience on stage. It looks unbelievably done and it looks magical, which is very hard to do. I said I am very used to the theatre and musical theatres. We're a family who we lived that a lot, and I used to act as well. So I was thinking, this could look a bit too staged, but it's absolutely perfect, really.
And the puppetry and the staging was just outstanding, really incredible. And like I said, there's something magical about that staging. There's something magical in all his work in that, it feels like there's life forms in all kinds of inanimate objects or spaces. There's a real kind of blur between where life is. And I'd imagine walking into that theatre and seeing that staging and that puppetry come to life must have been quite something for such a huge fan of the film and
Yes.
theatre itself.
Absolutely. I think it is the two worlds coming together. But for instance, the Totoro is a good example where, I think my worst fear was probably going to be someone wear a costume and it's human doing, because this is a very magical, quite scary, quite initially when we discover the Totoro, it looks quite scary. It's a bit unnerving. You're kind of not sure if it's going to be kind or not. And this is actually why certainly my children, they find it a mix of magical and a bit scary. And I was thinking, if someone endorses that costume, it will lose that a little bit because it will still be a human. And instead, they created this huge, absolutely huge Totoro. The first one is huge, inflated, massive on stage. And I mean, the gasp in the audience, people were very impressed. It was very well done from that perspective. So, yeah.
What was the sound of Totoro?
Same. It's exactly the same. A human, again, would not really have transcribed it. It's perfect to transcribe that this is not a human character. This is a character from within, or an imaginary character. And so the voice was done with probably some amplifiers or speakers, and again, did not sound anything human. It was this big roar that took up the entire space. And again, really well done, really, kind of captures the attention. And I think it's obviously the moment when he appears, and if you know the movie or the film, a lot of people who go are fans and know the story very well. The moment that he's going to appear, so there's a huge anticipation and you could tell to people around me, people know that Totoro is going to appear, and they wonder what that's going to look like. And so that's where the reaction, I thought, this is why it's a crush and it's brilliant, is the reaction around. People were genuinely very impressed and, surprised by how they had done it. And the sound was cavernous, unbelievable, really takes the whole place. So, yeah.
Is there a quote or a moment that just stuck with you that, whenever you think about that visit to the theatre that time or seeing the original film, that you just think about again and again?
There's a particular moment. So there is a moment in the movie where, and again, I'm sure there's lots of metaphors that Miyazaki wanted to transcribe, where they're waiting for their dad to come back from work, and it's very late, and they're waiting under a lamppost, and it's raining heavily. And again, I feel like that is a real, very strong depiction, because the rain could be the tears, and the loneliness and the sadness could equate to the rain. And Totoro, I think, appears at that point behind with a tiny umbrella, way too small for him. Again, like the small umbrella on this massive thing that is holding the little girl and sheltering. And that's probably the one that really sticks in my mind. And they're waiting for this bus. And that's probably the moment in the movie that, I don't know, felt quite something for me. In the play, and also because I knew this was coming, in the play, it's probably the very first moment because of that singer. They had that Japanese, and all the characters are Japanese, I believe. So they speak in Japanese and English in a mix. The singer is Japanese, sings in Japanese, and an unbelievable voice and beautiful song. And that's probably the moment. The minute it opens with her song, and that's so gorgeous, and really sets the scene. And it's quite a melancholic sounding song. That's probably the thing that really, for me, just those opening notes.
Do you think there's a reason why that film connected with you? Is there something about that and the story that made that your creative crush, other than it just being wonderful? Do you think there's something about the story or something about your life at the time when you first saw it or anything like that?
So when I first saw it, no, because I was a child and it was really more, it was probably more quite fashionable. So this is when they were all coming out from Studio Ghibli, and they were really, very popular. So there was no connection when I first saw it apart from people recommending. As I said, I mean, me watching them again, because I've lived in Japan, there is certainly a connection there, since I've been there, in terms of the style, I used to live in Japan. I lived in the countryside as well, so even the shape of the house, it just takes me back to that place. So there's a real emotional element to just watching those movies in that setting. I think the bit that probably, nothing necessarily personal to my personal history, but more the creative element to it. So it's my creative craft, and the creative side that really appeals to me is what I was trying to describe, where I think I quite like, in my own style, and it's true even in my work as a marketing professional, I like when not everything's said. I like when there's some unsaid. I like the fact that I know there's deeper meaning to it than what you see. And it really leaves you thinking, reflecting. Now, there's a lot of sadness around this, the illness of the mom. She's very ill, can't quite tell what's going on. But again, that doesn't even connect with my story. It's more that there's a lot of metaphor. You can tell the metaphors. And there's many meanings underneath. And I absolutely love that. I just like that of creative pieces generally. Books is the same for me. I don't necessarily like when everything's described. And there's a very, beginning, middle, and end. Even the ending is very open, really. It doesn't just end and everything's said. So that's probably what really appeals to me.
I could talk to you about this for hours and hours.
So could I.
But maybe we'll do a part 2 someday. Virginie, thank you so much. Thank you for being on My Creative Crush.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for your time as well. Thank you.